Walking with Bartram. Warwoman Dell to Sandy Ford. In May of 1775, William Bartram arrived in the Blue Ridge Mountains. In May of 2021, the Blue Ridge Bartram Trail Conservancy celebrated this anniversary with its inaugural Bartram Week. The events included a historical presentation, 2 separate hikes, and a river trip through what Bartram described as the Great Vale of Cowie, the most charming mountain landscape perhaps anywhere to be seen.
The reason for this trail to begin with is William Bartram. And Bartram passing through here in 1775 and writing his classic book, Bartram's Travels, that was published in 1791, which gives us pretty much the only portrayal of the American landscape on the eve of the American Revolution, what this country looked like on the eve of the American Revolution, what the tribal cultures were like in this country on the eve of the American Revolution. All this was about to change. William Bartram passed through these mountains during a period of great upheaval in this country, and yet it was not something he wrote about at all. I think it's really important to understand Bartram in the context of his upbringing and what it was like to be a Quaker and be classically trained in the arts and all these different things that influenced his perspective on the American landscape, this unique perspective on the American landscape. The important thing to remember about the Bartram family is that William's grandfather died on the Cape Fear River in North Carolina, killed in an Indian attack. So William's father, he never had sympathetic views to Native Americans. They were Quakers. So Quakers, of course, were the most tolerant faith in this country, and were tolerant, highly tolerant of Native Americans and held views of Native American equality. They were abolitionists, but William's father was thrown out of the Quaker church more than once for his heretical views. William was a true Quaker, in my opinion, and had early inclinations towards botany. His father, John, was a farmer and a botanist, self-taught botanist. William was way more of a scientific botanist than his father. The New World, was still being explored, and the Old World was really still fascinated by the plants that were coming out of this continent, animals that were present on this continent, the Native American peoples and the origins of the Native American peoples on this continent were still highly debated. So the Bartrams were propagating plants, sending those plants to England that they collected here. They were selling plants to England. A textile merchant in London by the name of Peter Collinson, which just kind of brokered the Bartram's plants to the Old World. William was trained at Philadelphia Academy in the classics. His father did not want him to be a botanist. His father wanted him to be a businessman. He pushed poor little William Bartram into all sorts of business ventures that failed. What happened following the French and Indian Wars is that John Bartram was made the royal botanist. And so he was the only royal botanist that we ever had in the colonies here before the American Revolution. He was given a patronage by the crown to travel throughout the southeastern United States and collect plants and to send those plants back to the New World. And William begged him to go.
He's right here by us.
In the 1760s, when they were traveling the southeast, William fell in love with the St. Johns River Valley. So his father sets him up as a rice plantation owner. And this was like the last thing William Bartram probably wanted to do. About a year after this venture started, or less than a year, a South Carolina friend of the family visits William on the St. Johns River Valley, and Bartram, everything is just in a complete state of utter disrepair. The slaves are basically on their own. William's despondent and depressed, and he's not living the life that he wanted to live or dreamed of living in the St. Johns River Valley. So Henry Lawrence writes John Bartram and tells him, he's a kid, William Bartram was in his early 30s then. He's not cut out for this, He wants to be a botanist, he wants to be an artist, and you've got to stop trying to force him into these pigeonholes as a father and just let him be who he wants to be. William comes back to Philadelphia without really a plan, but he's going back to the family business and the family garden. So Collinson had been sending William's paintings to England. I mean, it was pretty psychedelic stuff for the 1700s, right? One particular doctor in London, John Fothergill, collected his paintings, and he agreed to give Bartram a patronage. And he basically funded Bartram for almost 4 years, starting in 1773, just travel through the Southeast, collect plants, press those plants, paint those plants, draw them, and send them back to England.
Woohoo!
And so Bartram did that for almost 4 years, starting in 1773. And all of that now is basically in London, at the Museum of Natural History in London.
Join us next time for part 2 of Bartram Week, as we hike from Wilson Gap to Warwoman Dell, get an overview of Bartram's historical travel through the Appalachian Mountains. Connect with us on YouTube and Facebook. If you enjoyed this, click the thumbs up and follow us to see the next episode.